at Siena College Research. They are really an amazing partner, and that's obviously the primary reason we reached out and talked to them about all of our goal here collectively, everybody participating's goal of really trying to highlight ed to career, ed to workforce pathways for area students to local employers and showcase the diversity of the employer's skills and demand to students of all backgrounds and abilities. That's obviously our main mission at Career Jam with our Explore program, featuring showcasing those skills and knowledge gaps to get to those careers to 8th and 9th graders. When we introduced this to Dr. Levy and his team here that you're going to hear from, I'm sure you'll be impressed with what we focused on and are finding. They were very enthused, obviously, as educators, community stakeholders. All of us want to see opportunity realized, and it takes access and connections and engagement, and the knowledge that you'll see and hear about today, we hope will help educators in the K through 12 and the middle school to high school and on into college recognize the levels of career awareness, the types of learning styles and preferences that the students coming out of this middle school into high school prefer, and really be able to take some actions on how to connect the educational curricula and other types of learning styles to those careers that are in demand from the marketplace. If you're in the workforce development side, economic development, or you're an employer who's been struggling trying to find and showcase what you need to build a talent pipeline, we believe you'll find that mapping this career awareness and exploration earlier will help affect course selections and highlight pathways to get to your careers into the jobs that you need filled to prompt growth. So that's kind of a big picture overview I wanted to present. And again, we're extremely excited to be teaming with Siena College Research. Our intentions are to do this at least annually. Anytime we're running Career Jam Explore programs, we want to be surveying and collecting measurable and verifiable results that are, again, actionable at the educator level, and also deliver on career development standards in New York State. And on the employer and all of us on the community side, that we see a way to maybe start predicting and mapping the intentions of the students with the career skills that are actually in demand to make our economy and our community services be fostered and delivered. So with that, I'd like to kick it over to Dr. Levy and team, and we'll get into the bulk of the why we're all here.
Great. Thank you very much, Bill. Appreciate it. Appreciate everybody taking a few minutes to join us this morning. I'm going to turn the presentation over to my colleague, Colleen Cromer, in a couple seconds, but just like to lay a little bit of a foundation. One of the reasons why when we met with Bill and his team about Siena College Research's potential involvement with Career Jam, that we were so excited. We have for many years interviewed CEOs, not only in the capital region, but across the state. And one of the persistent findings that we have found from CEOs of companies across every industry sector is that they continue to tell us that there is simply not an ample supply of appropriately trained workers ready to step in and contribute for their businesses. And oftentimes when we've asked them to describe the workers who they do see, they give a pretty tough assessment of the readiness and the quality of the workforce as it approaches them. So we said, here's a perfect opportunity for us to get involved, to contribute to enhancing the readiness of potential workforce, to connect that workforce with employers who have a specific need, and to actually see if we can participate in addressing a problem that we have measured again and again. So we feel as though the program is off to a great start as far as our involvement, the degree to which we are measuring career readiness, the awareness of students, their predilections, and that ultimately this program can be a win-win for everyone involved, not only for the students, but for employers in the capital region and beyond, for educators, So we couldn't be more thrilled to be a partner in this project. So with that, let's turn it over to Colleen so that she can go through the nuts and bolts. Colleen Crowmery is our Director of Project Management here at the Siena College Research Institute, and is directing our involvement in the Career Jam program. So Colleen, I'll hand it to you.
Thank you. Okay, so first I'll just start off with a little bit of background. And if you haven't gone to the Career Jam website, I definitely encourage you to go there. They have, it's a great website, and to see what the students are seeing. I certainly wish that we had something like this when I was looking for a career. It worked out well, but but it's so engaging, and I think it really speaks to today's young people. So Career Jam works with school districts, employers, and economic and workforce development organizations to empower students from all backgrounds and abilities to imagine their future. And the ways that they do that, and these are some of the organizations that they work with. So the way that they do that is through this unique career exploration opportunity that schools and communities as well can participate in. They have what they call collabs, which promote skills and trainings to 11th and 12th graders, and they work alongside educators to build career pathways. You can have a standalone event, or you can have programs that are ongoing. They also have their virtual experience, which is something that never would have happened when I was growing up. But if you go into their website and you can see that virtual experience, it's like if you've ever seen The Sims, you go in and you're actually walking into a huge building, and you're actually walking up and you're engaging with business leaders in your community. So it's a very great opportunity, and it's a very cool experience. And of course, they have the Career Jam Explore. What you see here is the image from the most recent one that we hear at Siena College, and you can see how many employers in the area came together. We also had some educators there. So the students can get this very unique hands-on experience, and they can talk, they can ask questions. So it's a very unique experience, and definitely more enriching than the standardized, classroom setting where they're kind of trying to visualize it. Here, they actually get to experience it. So what we did was we wanted to have the pre-event to help students kind of plan, have an attack plan before they went to this event. So we encouraged the educators to do our survey prior to this event. So the survey itself is 2 parts, and we refer to them as the pre-registration, which is information gathering, demographics, their future plans. What do you think you're going to do? What would you like to do? What careers are you interested in? How much money do you think you're going to be making in the future? And then what kind of career awareness and exploration activities have they participated in? So this information can help to make the event even that much more enriching for the students. We're learning a little bit about what they've already experienced. And then we have what we call the post-registration, which is the Career Cluster Interest Survey. We combine learning style, interests, skills, and personality traits to connect students to career clusters and give them recommendations for some different careers that they could pursue. And this is based off of the Career Cluster Interest Survey from Advanced CTE, which is a nonprofit that, excuse me, I have a little cold. But this represents state career technical education directors and state leaders responsible for secondary, post-secondary, and adult CTE across all 50 states, the District of Columbia, and the US territories. So 27 schools were invited to participate in this, and 21 of those schools had some participation. We had 16 schools that had 30 or more students participate, which is really what we like to see, at least kind of a classroom full of students participate. We had 1,525 students that participated in that pre-registration portion, which was that information gathering portion. And from there, 950 students opted in. We gave them the option, would you like to participate in this survey about career interests? And 950 students did opt into that. And of those, 713 students answered for all three sections about the personality traits, the interests, and the skills. And we'll get into a little bit more of how those worked for them to kind of guide them into a career. So a little bit about the students that participated. They were mostly eighth graders, 89%. We had a little bit of ninth graders as well, 10%. Predominantly A and B students, 46% A students, 40% B students, but we did have a good portion that were C students as well. So we had a readable sample of C students as well. And then just a small number of students that were below average in the D and F range. 95% of them said that they live with their parents, and 74% of those said that they lived in a two-parent home. So this is just some interesting background to see what kind of students we're talking to. Half of them live in suburban areas, 37% in rural areas, and 13% in urban areas. So again, we had a decent sampling of all of those. Definitely would like to see a little bit more of urban settings in the future. And I know Bill is making some great connections there. So we're looking forward to getting some more information about students that live in our urban settings. Next, we asked them, well, what do you like to do in your free time? Because as you know, what you like to do hopefully can guide you to some sort of career in the future. It's a good plan of action. So 42% said they enjoy playing sports and other physical activities, and also hanging out with friends, topped the list at 42%. 23% said they like to play video games, probably no surprise there. 16% though said, I like to spend time with my family, which I really was happy to see that. 15% spend time watching TV, movies, or videos. And 12% spend time either participating in outdoor activities or doing creative things such as art, painting, knitting, things of that nature. So what we did here was we combined the awareness and the exploration activities they participated in to come up with a career preparation. So 63% of students said that they had participated in some form of career awareness activity. So 37% at this point had not done any kind of career awareness activities. 60% said they had done a career exploration activity, and 40%, similar number, saying they hadn't done anything yet. So you can see the score is basically the number of activities they had participated in, with most students having participated in just one of the activities, and none participating in 7 or more. So we gave them a list of different awareness and different exploration activities. And we define that as career preparedness. So who are they talking to about all of this? 78% said they're talking to their parents. 60% said friends. And then we asked, well, who are you talking to the most about this? Again, parents topped the list, 61% saying, I'm talking to my parents. And you start to see friends kind of fade away a little bit here. Only 20% saying their friends are the ones they're talking to the most. And we asked, well, who has the greatest influence on your future plans? And that is, again, their parents. Still, the friends came in second with 13%. So using the exploration and awareness activities, we created a career preparation score. It's quite simple. It's basically the number of activities they participated in, and we were able to develop a score from that. So if they participated in either one of those, awareness or exploration. So 25% of students actually said that they hadn't participated in any activities at this point. So for them, Career Jam was a great first start. They went into this with no preparation, no awareness or exploration. So they had this really amazing, enriching experience, hands-on, as their first experience. 15% had participated in at least one activity, 16% in 2 activities. And you see down, we did actually have some pretty active students, 5% saying 7 or more activities and 5% saying 6 activities. And you can see though that we start to see a breakout by their grade levels. So 87% of our A students said that they had done some form of career prep, 73% of our B students, but only 58% of our C students. So this got us thinking, of course, immediately, what kind of career preparation are they doing? where is that exposure coming from? So in the future, we're actually going to explore that further with our students and find out, where is this coming from? Is this driven at school? Is this driven at home? Is it both? So we can get an idea of why are we seeing this break off with our C students. Next, we asked our students, well, what kind of careers are you interested in? And 23% actually didn't really have any interest in any specific career at this point, but 19% said, this is the career that I'm interested in, this one career. And 58% selected multiples, actually. So the top areas of interest for our students are arts, AV, technology, and communications at 28%, STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics at 26%, business, management, and administration at 22%, law, public safety, corrections, and security at 21%, and education and training are at 19%. We also asked these students, what do your parents do? And gave them the option to give up to 4 different parent or caregiver careers. And nearly 1/3 didn't actually know what their parents do. So that was an interesting finding as well. They're talking to their parents about careers, but they're kind of uncertain of what their parents are doing. Nearly half didn't know or provide an industry for their second parent or caregiver. And after that, the third and fourth, they really did not know. But of those that were providing a response, the top 5 careers were business management and administration, which was 35%, architecture and construction, 26% for their primary caregiver, education and training came in at 23%, and human services also at 23%. We also saw marketing, law, public safety and corrections, manufacturing, health sciences, and science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. So you can see, and that's what those circles represent, actually, the students selected these careers here on the left, and they actually kind of matched up a little bit with what their parents are doing, even though they were kind of uncertain about what their parents were doing. I think they have a little bit of an idea of the general career cluster that their parents are working in. Next, we asked them about their future plans. So 46% of the students said that they plan to move away after they graduate from high school. 38% just aren't sure at this point, and 16% plan to stay in the area. Now, obviously, these students are young, but to see 46% already saying, I'm moving out of the area was something concerning. And I think it just highlights the importance of businesses and educators coming together and helping students define a career and seeing what's available in this community so that we can keep our students in this community and keep our the skills here at home. We also asked them, well, when you're between the ages of 22 and 26, how much do you think you're going to be earning? And the largest group was 38% who said $30,000 to $50,000. 30% said $50,000 to $70,000. And then we had 21% saying $70,000 or more, and 11% saying less than $30,000. So again, interesting to find out, where they think they will be. And this is now 4 years post-college or high school, maybe post-college. And they think they're going to be making somewhere mostly in that $30,000 to $70,000 range. We also asked them what they wanted to do and what they plan to do. And as you can see, there was very little difference between what they want to do and what they plan to do. So moving forward, that's actually another thing that we're going to change a little bit. And we're going to find out from them, because there doesn't seem to be a difference in their minds, want to do versus plan to do. So we want to talk to them a little about the expectations of their parents. What your parents want you to do, what your parents plan for you to do, and see if we see any differences there. And knowing that the parents are their greatest influencers should be interesting to see those results. But you can see that most do plan to go to a 4-year college, 68, 69%. About a third want to go to a 2-year college or plan to go to a 2-year college. But you can see here, 12% saying, I'm going directly into the workforce. So they're coming out of high school and going directly into the workforce. We also have 10% saying work in an apprenticeship, which again is essentially entering the workforce. So now we're talking nearly 1/4 of these students saying, I'm going right into the workforce in one way or another. Again, this is really highlighting the importance of having some form of career preparation, career guidance, that experience in high school, so that when they do get to graduation day, they have some sort of plan, they have some sort of skills set in already so that they can go out and be successful and contribute in our society. Again, we saw 10% said they didn't really have plans yet. Probably not very surprising. It is a young group, and they hadn't had as much exposure to this career preparedness at this point. 33% said multiple plans. So maybe they said, I'm going to go to a 2-year college and a 4-year college, or I'm going to serve in the military and also go directly into the workforce. And 57% though said, this is it. This is my plan. I'm going to college, or I'm going in the military. So we had just one plan in mind moving forward. Another interesting thing we saw again was this breakout in the grades. 82% of A students plan to go to a 4-year college, while less than half of our C students said that they plan to go to a 4-year college. And about 1/4 of our C students are planning to enter the workforce immediately after high school. Again, highlighting the importance of that C student and getting them involved in these activities at this point. So this explains what the career cluster interest portion of the survey was, what we called that post-registration survey. So what we did was we used what's called the VARC learning style. It stands for visual, oral, read, write, and kinesthetic learning styles. This was developed by Neil Fleming. His full questionnaire actually was 13 to 16 questions. We only used the descriptors of the 4 different learning types and asked the students to self-define which of these best describes you. Next, we had the interests portion. This was basically, what do you like, what don't you like? They were given statements representing the 18 career clusters, and these were defined by New York State. Skills, they had a graphic slider that you can see there where basically they said either I'm great at this or I'm not so great at this. And then the personality traits, again, is this true about you or not true about you? And there were words or phrases that describe different personality traits. After each section, students were given a list of their top career clusters, and that included, of course, an icon or image and a list of some careers that might interest them. For the visual, auditory, read, write, kinesthetic portion, they were told, this is the type of learner you are, and these are some careers that might be a fit for your learning type. Moving forward, we're actually adding in some tips for their learning style and ways that they can maximize their learning experience in the classroom based on their learning style. So the learning style, we had visual. 26% of our students are visual learners. They said that they learn best by seeing pictures or images, including graphs and charts, and they like to see what they're learning. They understand better when they see things. And some careers that would work well for them are arts, AV technology, information technology, and architecture and construction. 12% said that they were auditory learners who learn best by listening and hearing. They remember things best when they've heard them, and they understand verbal instructions more so than written instructions. And they often read aloud so that they can remember things. So some careers that would work for them, law, public safety, corrections, and security, health sciences, and arts, AV, technology, and communications. Read, write, we also had 13% there. Those are students that read, they write, they take notes, they read them. They understand written instructions better than spoken ones. Some careers for them are careers in the STEM, law, public safety, corrections, and education and training. And finally, our kinesthetic learners. These are students that learn best by doing, and that was 49% of our students. Again, highlighting the importance of kind of that hands-on experience. These students are are learning by doing. They understand and remember things best when they're active and they participate in hands-on. They want to touch, they want to move, they want to build. Some career clusters for them: hospitality and tourism, manufacturing, and agriculture, food, and natural resources. And we show the breakout here by their grades. We saw some very similar numbers for the kinesthetic learners. Our A students 47%, B students 55%, and C students 53%. But you can see our C students were a little bit higher on that visual, and our A students were a little bit more spread out, a little bit from each one of those four. The read-write, though, really was a little bit less for our C students as well as our B students. So interest, skills, and traits. So these were three separate sections, as I showed you earlier, where we asked the students about their interests. And here, these are the career clusters that rose to the top. For interests, they like to learn new skills, 86%. They care about people, their needs, and their problems, 70%, and putting things together, again, working with their hands at 70%. Excuse me, I'm sorry. And also 68, or excuse me, we're putting things together with 70%, working with their hands, as well as helping people overcome challenges was at 68%. And these rose to the top of them, because first we asked them, pick as many as you'd like, and then we said, pick your top three. So putting things together rose to the top at 25%, 24% saying they care about people, their needs, and their problems. And then actually health services rose to the top at 23%. And then with their skills, we asked them, what are you good at? What are you not so good at? And these are the top, because it was a 5-point scale. So we're showing you the top 2, 5, and 4. So 93% said that they're observant, 56% giving that a top score, 37% a score of 4. 87% said that they're dependable, 44% giving the top score, 43% saying a score of 4, and 84% said that they're good at using logic, split 42% each for 5 and 4. Being competitive actually rose to the top of the list at 35%. Being observant at 23%, and then being part of a team at 21%. So you can still start to kind of see how these interests and these skills will kind of fit into the different career clusters and some areas that would be very interesting to these students. Next, we asked them about their personal traits. 87% saying that they're curious, 85% observant, and 84% saying they're determined. And we saw that these actually were the top 3 for the students as well. 29% saying I'm curious, 26% I'm observant, and 25% saying that they are determined. So then we took a look at the top career clusters, and basically when we had created a score based on their skills, interests, and traits. And you can see these are the ones that were the highest matches, getting a score of 3. Manufacturing, health sciences, human services, architecture and STEM tied, AV, arts, AV, technology, and communications. And then from there to 1. So what we did was we took all of those scores together and we created a combined score to show the top 5 of all of them. Manufacturing came in at 1.38, human services 1.30, hospitality and tourism 1.27, health sciences 1.25, and STEM at 1.24. Now these are, again, combining their interests, their skills, and their personality traits to see what might be a good match for these students. And this is one area that we're actually going to increase the score range actually so that we can get more concise matching. So we'll show you that a little bit when we talk about the future for this. So you can see down at the bottom, their self-described interests were AV and tech, STEM, business, law, and education. But when we looked at their top career clusters, once they matched up, you can see there is quite a bit of difference there. So things more with hands-on, helping others, hospitality, health sciences, and STEM, of course, did though rise to the top as well for the career clusters that matched them. So looking forward, as I said, what we're looking to do is do enhanced career cluster matching. We're going to take that score of 3 and we're actually going to turn it into a score of 6. So we're going to make sure that there's at least 2 statements that match to every single career cluster for the 3 different measurements. And we're actually going to tier the results, because right now what the students saw were basically their top matches. And then at the very end of the survey, what they saw was their top matches combined, and they were connected to a site from the New York that was sponsored by the New York State Department of Labor, and it had videos. So it was a brief video about 3 minutes long about the specific career cluster, and then a brief video of about 3 minutes that discussed different careers within that cluster. And I definitely encourage you to go to that site as well. It's a wonderful site with a lot of information, and I think it really, for students, as you can see, they're watching movies, TV, and all that stuff. They love streaming, they love video, they like their devices. It was a good way for them to get a preview before they went to the Career Jam event. And then they could walk in and say, oh, I remember seeing that. Let me go over and talk to these people and get a hands-on experience. So what we'll do is we'll have tiered results showing students their areas of high interest, then their areas of some moderate interest, and then areas of some interest. We've also developed an educator's guide for administering the survey, help to give them a little bit of guidance ahead of time, and I'd be happy to share that with you. Tips for using the data, and this of course could be used by educators or business leaders, any organizations that are reviewing our data. Just some tips for what to look for in the data and how they could possibly use the data. Again, happy to share that document with you as well. And as we said earlier, we'd like to gather a little bit additional student information, a little more information about what their career prep experience has been like, additional demographics, and also what we're hoping to do is a longitudinal study where we're following these students all the way through high school. We're finding out what their full career preparation experience is like and how their interests develop over time. So along the way, we can certainly find more ways in which we can enrich that experience. And that's definitely where Bill comes in with Career Jam and using this information that we'll gather hopefully over at least a 5-year period with the eighth graders that we have right now, and seeing what that looks like and how we can best serve the students as well as the community. So if anybody has any questions, I don't know, Bill, I know you were monitoring the chat. I'd be happy to answer any questions. Otherwise, I will turn it back to you, Bill.
Yeah, that's excellent. Thank you so much for that great walkthrough, Colleen. Just a couple of quick things to emphasize about looking forward. This summarizes it well, but we're really excited about number one, the findings in executive summary format, a really cool infographic, simple summary will be available in our Career Jam Connect platform, which again is where we're trying to bring down some of the barriers between the market and educators so that there is a more perhaps predictive and collaborative ongoing pathway development. So we'll host this there, the findings there. Participating educators, community-based partners of ours, and employers and trades have access. And we are also planning with Siena College Research Institute and perhaps some of our other primary partners to release this more broadly to the media and hopefully find some traction in light of the tremendous workforce, focus on need for workforce development, talent pipelines. On the actual survey, measurable and verifiable findings like this, obviously annually, help educators, as some of you can probably imagine already, in terms of not only delivering career awareness and exploration standards that are part of the 8th grade in New York State, but more importantly, perhaps over time, seeing some of those traits and preferences and learning styles and how the teachers could perhaps bring to life some more actionable and applied skills development tied to market-based learning. Again, that's where, our goal overall is, again, to lower these, just typical sort of barriers between educators and marketplace, and, find some people who are willing to do some in-classroom activities or provide resources to the educators to showcase applied learning opportunities, since so many of the kids replied in that learning style of ARC study, their preference for some hands-on activity. And then we obviously, as Colleen finished with, we really do want to track this with cohorts. And again, this is where Siena College Research Institute is an amazing partner, to try and find a appropriate sample size and demographic and other mix that we could track and see where they do go in terms of course selection and pathways beyond high school, so that this whole picture becomes more predictive, perhaps, for our region in terms of, are we having an effect on some things that I thought were really interesting. For example, where you tried to build the metric around what students said they were interested in, and then what the traits and their learning styles and everything combined showed they could be really qualified for. There's a gap there, and that's where I think a lot of us, not just in our region but nationally, are really trying to focus on that gap, and how we can perhaps affect positively more students and more households pursuing opportunities that are really in demand and that are better pairing perhaps with their capabilities and inclinations. So with that, I do want to stop talking, maybe just advance the screen, Colleen, and we'll try and love to hear from you. Love to hear any reaction at all. I have been monitoring the chat and obviously providing some info in there. So please do pipe in the chat or chime in right here, and we'll try and drill in on any questions you have.
Bill, this is Brian.
Hey, Brian.
I think it's going to be key going forward was, as you had mentioned, the tips for using the data.
Yep.
And I think the tips for using the data, depending on the audience that we're trying to use the data for, I think is important. If we're trying to use the data for educators, it's one thing. If we're trying to use the data for parents, it's another. If we're trying to use the data to advocate with state ed, right, in a change of graduation requirements or whatever the case may be, I think anything we can do to help those of us that are going to be using the data, and maybe drill down to that specific audience, maybe some tips on that.
Yeah, and it looks like Colleen's pulled this up. So that's a great point, Brian. Absolutely right. Data is great to collect, but you got to make it actionable. So our first year out here, already have it developed a prompt sort of set for educators. So at minimum, some areas of interest that get called out to the educators that may help them plan the way that they can deliver some of their curricula, and tie it to career and tie it to the learning styles. So I'll kick it over back to you, Colleen, if you want to enhance any comments on that.
Yeah, and this actually, as you said, it would be great if we could actually talk some more with some business leaders out and find out what they see when they look at this data, so that we can work collaboratively to show them how to use it. So this guide was actually very educator focused, but I think there are some things in there that could apply to people in business as well. But basically giving them some questions so that they can read the data themselves. And then also some ideas for how they can maybe support these students differently. So for example, we saw, and I know somebody asked in the chat about, are students talking to their teachers? Are they talking to their guidance counselors? And what we found was not so much. So that was one of the recommendations is, in what ways can the schools support increasing those conversations in the classroom, increasing the conversations with the guidance counselors, and also knowing that the parents are the influencers. In what ways can they support the parents and say to them, this is how you can make your child's career exploration more fruitful, and these are questions that you can ask, and be a real advocate for your student. We also give a little bit of tips about the different types of learners and things that maybe they can do with those students, knowing, oh gee, this student is a visual learner, they probably shouldn't be sitting in the back of a classroom, or they're an auditory student, maybe they need to have some time to play back a recording of our class, which I know, again, having any kind of video or audio in the classroom would have been unheard of years ago, but now with the world that we're living in, it is absolutely an option for all of our students. So definitely, I would love to sit down with people working in workforce development, people out there in the business world, so that we can develop something similar for those as well.
Yeah, and I hate to sound like a broken record over in the chat, but that is sort of some of what we're trying to trial with use of Career Jam Connect as well, is not to come to Career Jam events live or to have it schools in the silo administering this as an exploration and awareness, but to sustain a network that breaks down some of these barriers. So when we host, for instance, these findings in Career Jam Connect, Brian, you're awesome. You always have good feedback and insights. We'd love to see some, like the question, we think we've got some good prompts for the educators, as you just saw, and those are going to be delivered to all the schools that had students participating in this survey. But yeah, chiming in like the thread to try and unearth some other employers or economic developers to collaborate with us and Siena College Research on what is most of interest in these findings that could perhaps, lead a concept that could perhaps lead to some actionable activities where the market can affect maybe a bit of that gap we found between what students think they should maybe be interested in, and that could be from a number of influences versus what they actually show some real aptitude for. That could be an area of real exploration, with market-led folks combining with the educators in our network. So I'd love to see that happen. I'll try and prompt that, but maybe Brian, even in the Career Jam Connect thread, when this data is there, you can pose that question. Siena College Research folks here are all part of that community. They can certainly chime in and say what Meredith just said, or excuse me, what Colleen just said, that they're interested in that kind of collaboration. And we'll see if we can get a little collab team, together to really enhance how we keep tracking this to make it actionable.
And Bill, I think too, you know me well enough that I think bigger than some of this, right?
Oh yeah.
How can we use this data to advocate for statewide policy changes in the education system and potential funding opportunities, coming from the state, the new state Office of Workforce Development, through state ed, all of these things. I mean, I know state ed is looking at, revamping graduation requirements in the next 5 years, and work experience is really being talked about a lot in this. I think this data can be used to move the needle, I think, on some of those discussions.
Absolutely. That's a great point. And that's, really where we're at, right? Where, again, working with a team like you've heard from here is by design. Having partners like you, Brian, is by design. You've felt affect a lot of what we're trying to do already. And we think we get better by collaborating like this. And we need some, I think we would all agree, some kind of year over year to really start driving that. But this is a really, I think, sophisticated way that we're trying to look at this challenge, this dilemma that we all experience. I like to say it's kind of like we've arrived at the point, a lot of us have been, part of this, like Brian for career, me for maybe the last 5 or 10 years, and now very focused on it. But we're all admitting there's a problem now, which is the first step. Everybody acknowledges there's this missed knowledge gap between what's needed. So I'm glad to hear that kind of reform is in process, and we do want to be part of trying to help affect it with some empirical data and actionable insights. So I think we just need to keep collecting. So for instance, we have, kicking off an academic year long now, Career Jam Explore. So anytime a school signs up, they're going to be granted year round through the end of that school year, the virtual career exploration and access to an individual dynamic, hands-on event. And that is really sort of the top of the funnel that helps prompt schools ideally to see the value of having the students take these surveys. And on the other end of that funnel, we can find maybe some more deliberate pathways to either affect policy, and even, more importantly for the talent pipeline locally, is to affect maybe some of those career collabs or those pathways being built to skills in demand that can be then recruited and sustained, because we're out there reaching kids at this earlier level, I think a lot of folks, very well intentioned, build great pathways. And then maybe as an afterthought are like, oh, what's the next year's cohort going to look like? We're trying to just synthesize that. So there's a recruitment and awareness, so to speak, ongoing toward those pathways that are promising, not only for their opportunity, but for the marketplace that needs them.
I just have a super quick question. Hi, everyone. My name is Meredith. I'm in the Office of Workforce Development at Hudson Valley.
Yes.
And Bill was very kind to invite me to this meeting
Yes.
after he and I had a meeting last week.
Yep.
Is there any chance we could get a copy of the questions for the post survey, the one that was given to students? I'm just intrigued with, I wonder if a lot of them chose that they were kinesthetic learners because they just went to a career fair that was very hands-on. So I'm just intrigued with the different data points and, what maybe from the student's perspective, what it looked like.
I definitely want Colleen or Siena College Research to reply on the sequence, et cetera. But I will say, Meredith, great question. And this is something we've thought about carefully, and it's why it's important. And we do have guides that we continue to enhance for the schools that
Right.
participate in Career Jam Explore. We try to encourage and, frankly, I'd like to require, if we could, the students, though, in this round, they all took the survey before they went to a Career Jam Live event. So they may have gone to other things, but we did this as a baselining attempt.
Okay, so
So we were
the pre and post surveys were just for educators, not for the students?
No, what it was is, I refer to it as the pre and the post, actually, because, and it's all one survey. They took it straight through. And we
Okay.
call it pre and the post because, the first part of it was kind of, they had already registered for Career Jam, and that portion of the survey, though, was, really to help Bill and his team to make sure that what they were doing at the event would be, what the students needed. So he was getting some guidance on what experiences have they had, what are they interested in, so that he can make sure it was the most, the best experience that they could have. Then what we refer to as the post was actually, as soon as they finished that first part, they rolled right into the next part. And there was a
Okay.
question, would you like to continue and do this career survey? So it was an opt-in, they didn't have to do it. Thankfully, a good portion of the students did. As you said, almost 1,000 of them did do the survey, which was really great. So it rolled right into that. But we encouraged the teachers. We did leave it open for if they wanted to go back to it after the event. Especially sometimes, the students, once they get into the event, they're like, that survey, let me go back to it and look, excuse me, look a little bit more. But we encourage the teachers, or Bill encouraged the teachers to do it beforehand, so that the students kind of had like I said, they had kind of a plan going into it. Like, oh, I developed a little interest here. Let me go check it out at the event. So encourage them to do it as a classroom activity together so that all the students could do it. And then there's, of course, the opportunity for discussion, which hopefully the educator guides that we've developed will help them in the future with greater conversations as they go through the survey.
Okay. I'm sorry, I don't mean to be critical of, I am no data expert. I've taken a few classes, but certainly not an expert. But I'd be curious just to see what it would look like. And if I filled it out, like what results would I come up with?
Yes, yeah, and we're happy to share. We actually have a testing link for the latest draft of the survey. Bill,
Yeah,
want to
no,
share that?
I was gonna suggest that. Can someone post that in the chat?
Yes, I will do that.
So there's some subtle changes, to the questions that we learned from, this round. But this is now what you're going to see here, and Meredith, definitely jump in and take it, is the test version of the current open survey for this academic year.
Okay.
So as we roll Career Jam Explore out, with the event, is coming up October 13th for a cohort of schools that are sending students there. And then there's back to Siena College campus on May 23rd, already confirmed for next spring. A lot of schools have opted for that one so that they can build, through their FACS teachers, for instance, toward that event as almost a capstone. But yeah, this test survey access is for teachers and for, partners like you. So yeah, definitely take a look at and see, exactly what the students see.
Mm, yeah, thank you so much.
Sure. And if, I don't know if Sienna, if you can post that in the chat, people
Yep,
can
I
grab
will.
it.
Yes, I'm grabbing a
Cool.
link right now.
Perfect. And these are great questions and comments. And again, the first part, when, as Colleen described it, pre and post, the pre part about career awareness and exploration, not only does that help us, kind of hone the way we can be of value with the students, obviously, first and foremost, and their educators, but that's straight up measurable and verifiable data relative to career development standards for educators. So they can look at that and say, okay, we try to roll out those range of activities that you'll see in that part of the upfront part of the survey were provided to us over the years by educators, because those are types of things they try to deliver and need to deliver to meet a career development standard. So now we're able to turn back to them, what students recollect, what students say they've done or had access to do as an activity. And again, a lot of them, profess that they didn't have a various activity. Again, that's not a knock on anybody. It's their 8th graders primarily, and they may not have gotten to any, but they also may not recollect them, so that's what that measures for educators. And again, everybody's been very generous with the time. I know this is a lot to absorb. We did want to offer this, obviously, as a feature of participants and just interested stakeholders. And we will be, like, as I said, bundling some digestible formats of these findings into Career Jam Connect's library, which will trigger a notice out to everybody who's a member of that community that it's there automatically. And folks can download it, so you'll absolutely be able to get it. And we're also building a release to the media in conjunction with Siena College Research Institute, and we'll try and disseminate that, to get some eyes on it, because we feel like this was a missing gap, as Dr. Levy said at the outset, between what's commonly surveyed all the time, of course, by businesses, CEOs, hiring efforts and challenges with workforce. We're trying to sort of front end it a bit with, okay, where do kids think they're headed, and how can we maybe track and see what sort of effect is being had over time, and marrying some of their aptitudes and interests with skills that are really needed. So with that, I'm happy to wind down and let you all go, unless anybody's got a last question. All right. Well, thanks everyone for your time and attention. Thank you so much to Siena College Research Institute for being amazing partners in this. And we're excited to keep working together, and appreciate everybody's, time and dedication to this really needed cause. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yeah, thank
Bye,
you so
all.
much.